We close this evening with an appreciation of Lucian Freud, one of the most influential painters of the 20th century. He died on July 21st at his home in London. He was 88 years old. He suffered from a brief, undisclosed illness, according to his longtime dealer, William Acquavella. William Grimes of the New York Times writes that Freud's stark and revealing paintings of friends and intimates, splayed nude in his studio, recast the art of portraiture and offered a new approach to figurative art. Freud himself once said, "Full, saturated colors have an emotional significance that I want to avoid. For me, the paint is the person." He is a grandson of Sigmund Freud, but established himself as an artist in his own right. His subjects range from friends and intimates to Kate Moss and the Queen of England. In 2006, I spoke with two of his friends, Bill Acquavella and art critic John Richardson, for an exhibition of his work at the Acquavella Galleries here in New York City. Here is part of that conversation.
What's his fascination, John, with male nudes or female nudes? He does a lot of nudes. There's no easy answer to that.
There's no easy answer to that. I think that he likes bodies. He likes very physical.
And he paints the head last because he views the head as just one more part of the anatomy.
Yeah. But he's also very interested in other parts of the anatomy. Whether they're ladies or gentlemen. I mean,
okay, but what is that about? I mean, is it...
Aren't we all? Come on.
Is that part... Bill, wade in here. I mean, and we look around your gallery, over there next to your portrait, there's a male nude with a...
Yeah, well, he loves the body. He loves painting the body. It's a challenge for him, and he likes painting what he sees. He doesn't, he paints everything as he sees it, and the body is one of the most interesting things to paint.
I love this painting over here. Do you like that, or is that?
That's a great painting. That's called The Artist Surprised by a Naked Admirer.
Yeah.
It started off as a self-portrait. It was painted in a mirror. It's a mirror image. You wouldn't realize that, but that gives it a certain distance. And he said he'd already started the self-portrait when he got this fan letter from this girl, and she wanted to sit for him. So he got her in and tried to think of a new pose, which no artist had ever done before, and then sort of twined her around his leg like that. And so it has quite a story, this painting.
Oh, I love it. The painting that's over here, I assume you tell me about this, Bill. Who is that?
That's a man called Martin Gayford, who's an art critic in London, a friend of his. And he just thought he had an interesting face, asked if he wanted to sit, and so it's a man with a blue scarf.
Yeah, exactly. When he paints, how does he start? I mean, is anything to be said about the way
In my
he paints?
painting, first of all, you never watch him paint unless you're sitting there. He won't start painting with anyone else in the room except the sitter. And in my case, he started with a piece of charcoal and on the canvas just drew in my head, pretty much trying to get the scale. And then he went on and
So he started with your head?
Started, yeah. He starts the head usually pretty much in the beginning of the painting. I mean, he starts the head and the shoulders, but in my case, he started the eyes and the nose and worked out from there. Then did some hair, then did some shirt, and then it goes on and on.
It is said by people who look at this now, present company accepted, that he likes to paint people as fat, ugly, or indolent.
That's not true.
Not true.
No.
No, he likes to paint faces with character and bodies with character too. I mean, that's why he likes these.
But I mean, I've heard people say, it wouldn't work for him to paint sort of very fit bodies. That's not what he finds interesting.
Well, I mean,
the studio assistant's
David's
right.
No, that's not true.
No, that's true.
That came out when he did the big portraits of Lee Bowery and Fat Sue.
Yes.
That's when that started. That kind of
he had a fat phase.
Yeah, he had a fat phase. Yeah. What do we say about the fact that he's Sigmund Freud's grandson?
He's not interested in psychology. He's not interested in his grandfather. He liked his grandfather. He was very fond of his grandfather.
Spent some time with him, didn't he?
Lord, yes. Yeah. And but he takes absolutely a sort of obstinate lack of interest, really, in psychology. But he admires his grandfather enormously for being a zoologist, because Freud started off as a zoologist. Right. And he's very proud of the fact that Freud apparently was the first person to discover how you can tell the sex of eels. And
Before psychoanalysis, it was the sex of
much more
eels.
interesting to him than any psychoanalyst. He was very fond of Freud's favorite disciple, Princess Bonaparte, Marie Bonaparte, but it was Princess George of Denmark. And so when he first went to Paris, he used to spend a lot of time in this very Freudian group of Princess Bonaparte. And she was the first person to buy one of his works, which happened to be a sculpture, a three-legged horse. You should try and get that. I don't know where it is now.
I've never seen it.
Is there a group of collectors just waiting for an exhibit like this, just waiting for the next?
We have a list of collectors that are waiting for the next Freud to come.
And do you sell them before you have this kind of exhibit, or this is where
In
they
this
come?
case, we do, because they come so slowly. You know, I mean, some of these paintings we got a year ago, so it's hard to keep them unsold until the show opens. So you end up selling them, and then just have the show so everybody can see what he's done in the last 2 years.
How does he think of himself, Bill?
He thinks of himself as a very dedicated artist, and one that, you know, is passionate about his work, is very truthful about his work, and I don't know what else I can add to that. It's his whole life. It revolves around his work. He works from 9 in the morning till about 3 in the afternoon. Then he takes a rest, and then he works from about 7 until about 11 or 11:30 at night. He does that 7 days a week.
These paintings, just everything he's done in the last 2 years? How do you decide what you're going to put on your walls
I don't.
in this exhibit?
I don't decide. He does. He decides what he's going to let out of the studio.
Yeah.
And there are instances, and I was talking to John before just about this. There's a very beautiful painting I had seen him working on when I was sitting with him, of a nude, looked to be great. The next day, or a week later when I was there, I said, "How's it going?" I looked, and it was in shreds. He had just shredded the whole thing. He had been working on it for maybe 6 months.
Just shredded it.
Yeah, I mean, there was no way to save that painting. It was torn
And
up.
you clearly must have said to him, why did you do that?
I did that. He said, I didn't think it was a good painting. I couldn't do with that painting what I wanted to do. So he will not let it out. So anything that he's finished with, I get. I have to get enough to fill the galleries.
Lucian Freud, dead at 88. We hope to have more about this remarkable artist from his friends and also from art critics and his contribution to portraiture. This footnote: I once went to London. We met at his studio, then we had this remarkable lunch, and then we went back to his studio. My mission was to get him to sit for an interview. He gave me the courtesy of thinking about it and talking about it, but at the end of the day, he said he couldn't do it. I'd gained a friend, I'd gained an opportunity to talk to a great painter, but did not get to do the interview. More on Lucian Freud at another time. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.